Here's what I gotta say about this. I'm not against signing Fairley because he certainly has earned it. But for one, this is a contract year. We've seen, and this isn't a knock on Fairley individually, but we've seen what happens when players do that 1 year signing, do great, and then sign a big deal. And secondly, is if you've got Sheldon Rankins at that three tech spot, that pass rushing defensive tackle, he is obviously the future there. Nick Fairley has earned minimum $6 million a year based on his stats from this season. It's arguable that he could get $8 to $10 million a year, especially with the cap going up. So now everybody has room. I don't see it being a good idea for the Saints to pay between $6 and $10 million, more around the 8 and 10 marker, for a guy who maybe next year or definitely the year after will be your backup defensive tackle.
I don't know, Deuce. I mean, signing for 3 years, and I mean, like you said, the cap is going up. I understand what you're saying about, if he's going to lay on a leg, after he gets paid, and we've seen it happen, but maybe just the environment he's in, because he's playing really well. Is maybe the only thing he doesn't have is a championship, and that might draw him away. Who knows if the Patriots want to, come after him or somebody like that, But I mean, if he sees the building blocks here and he wants to, see it through, and it's a big if he's going to play the same way, then he's well worth it.
Yeah, and I'm not saying he's not worth it. It's just, for me, it's difficult for me to think that's okay, because I see Sheldon Rankins is locked in, for many years now because of how rookie contracts are designed, and he's going to make around $2.5 million, going forward. He's obviously the next guy at the position, and let's just say you sign Nick Fairley to $10 million a year because some other team is going to pay him that. We match it, and because he likes New Orleans more, it's that whole near to home thing. $10 million would make him the third highest paid player on the team, higher than guys like Cameron Jordan and, Teron Armstead, who already have very big contracts. We're talking about just cap hits for next year. It's difficult for me to think that's okay. That kind of goes more towards that's a bad Jarris Burr type signing, because the guy, even if he's on fire next year, I still don't see him being the starter in 2 years, because Rankins already has come out in just a few games and shown that he puts up the exact same production as a rookie that Fairley's doing right now. So to me, I see Fairley as a backup in 1 year, maybe two, and that's a lot of money to pay a backup, even a very good backup.
So what would you think would be a fair amount,
My goal, and I've said this on Twitter, is I want to sign him around the $6 million mark. Because the cap is going up so much, because we have room, that's still a lot to pay for any position as a quote-unquote backup. But I think he's definitely deserved it. And I think, if he continues to put out that output, that's what we should try to do it for. But I think that's a low number compared to what other teams are going to try to do, because pass rushing is the most important position, arguably in the NFL, second only to the quarterback. Everybody wants pressure on the opposing quarterback, so everybody pays a lot of money for it. I want him to get him around $6 million a year, and that's just what I think.
But I mean, what if you structure it to where it's incentive based? You have to reach benchmarks to get to 8 million or whatnot.
Yeah, but usually when you do an incentive based contract, you're talking $250,000 incentive or $500,000 incentive, not a $2 million incentive where you reach 8 sacks, you get $2 million.
I mean, if you're going to say 6 is your benchmark, and
yeah,
you
and I agree with you.
If you can incentive it up to maybe 7 or 7.5 with, just, sacks basically, and, and games played and whatnot. I'm not talking about the little workout bonuses.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let me also say, I'm not trying to say we should let him walk or we should make him have this huge hometown discount, because I realize that when the cap goes up, that means the money each position makes is going to go up. So it's not like, Nick Fairley is going to be the lone cowboy there. There's a lot of defensive tackles that are pass rushers coming out who are going to lift that median that most of the position makes, because now everybody has more money to spend. Logically, it's all going to go up. I mean, next year you're not going to have 20 teams decide we'll only spend $150 million to keep contracts how they are. No, they're going to try to outspend the next guy. So now, where quarterbacks might make $20 million, the next extension, you got guys making $26, $27, $28 million a year because the cap is so much bigger. I realize that, so maybe I just have to deal with the fact that we need a wiggle room closer to $8 million and just accept that that's where the NFL's heading. It's just me and the whole watching how we've done in free agency the past couple of years. I'm just really wary of that amount of money to one person because of past experiences.
Yeah, I heard the comment, maybe they could bring in 10 free agents and hit on one.
I mean, and we've had so many good ones, but the good ones were these low guys who were like, they might win, they might not. Craig Robertson being an example. He might do well, he might, fall on his face. Who cares? We didn't spend, an arm and a leg. And then we go get Jarris Bird thinking he's going to, rock the world. And honestly, he hasn't had his first good season, quote unquote, till this year. So.
Yeah, and then we got to pay Kenny Vaccaro too, right? He's a free agent, I'm pretty sure, after this year. So yeah, guys going to have to get paid. I mean, but it's an odd feeling that like you said, the Saints are going to have $30 and $40 million to spend. I just you're so used to being up against the cap year after year after year, and and all. He does kick the can down the road and restructure his contracts,
Because you threw it out there, just so you know, Kenny Vaccaro is not a free agent until 2018. We've got him locked into next year.
Okay. All right, good. I don't have to worry about him.
But yeah, he's definitely going to demand a lot of dollars when it's his time because he's earned it.
Yeah, like I was saying, it's going to be interesting to see how Loomis is going to handle this, where he's actually – I like a team like Jacksonville that always has money to spend each year, or Tampa Bay. He's not having to go to his veterans and have them to restructure their contracts every year just to squeeze a little bit more out, just to bring in a free agent. So it's gonna be interesting to see if they're gonna go by volume or go out there and get the big splash.
Yeah. I mean, and to me, if they're going to splash, it's got to be at that defensive end. I mean, there's a lot of people coming out like Chandler Jones, Melvin Ingram, several names, Jabal Sheard. There's a lot of high-quality pass rushers out there that if the Saints decide that they want to spin big like they did on Bird and hope it works out, they've got plenty of people to do it on this year.
Definitely. So anyway, what do you think about this coming up Sunday? Do you think the offense gets back on track against this defense they're fixing to play, or do you think it's going to be more of the same?
I'll be honest, man, it's so tough for me to tell this year because on paper, we should have demolished the past 2 weeks compared to, considering what we did to not St. Louis. I'm getting like Bryan now, but Los Angeles. I mean, that defense was leagues better than the Lions or Bucs, no offense to either of them, and yet we were only able to put up, a combined, 20-something points? So that I just don't know this year. On paper, talent between Ingram, Thomas, Snead, Cooks, Breeze, they should put up a 30-burger every game. They should, but they don't. And I really don't know what team's going to show up. It is a Jekyll and Hyde situation every week for me.
Yeah, me too. Matter of fact, I was writing about it. I can't put my finger on offense with, why. I mean, coaching,
Yeah, me and Brian talked about that. Coaching definitely has something to do with it because I don't know what your opinion on is, but we feel that coach is not the same coach, of 5-6 years ago. That same aggressiveness every play, that same confidence every play. When he used to tell Drew, we're running this play, I love it, it's going to score a touchdown, and Drew's like, yeah, it's going to bang. And they did it, and they scored. I don't see that anymore. So I'm not sure how you see it.
Oh, I agree with that. Yeah, this isn't the 2011 coaching out of Sean Payton that you're seeing right now. You're not, and even the little things, what they ran the ball 16 times Sunday, and they're backed up at their goal line, throw the ball 3 times. I'm
Yeah.
this. I mean, even when at least when they played Seattle, they didn't, get a lot of, yards per carry, but they stuck with it. Where I think Hightower just barely got 100 or something like that. But they stuck with it, and this game they just abandoned it. It's like, we'll just throw the ball. It's almost to where if Peyton,
which is insane to me because it was a 13-11 game in the third quarter and a 13-8 game after the first half. It's not like we were down 3 touchdowns.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's almost like he's just looking at their defense saying, we can't run on them. We're just going to throw it. And he just, and that's just the mindset he has going forward. He just thinks that he can just beat them throwing. But, if the play action's there, if you got to bring those safeties in a little bit, and the linebackers a little tighter, it opens everything up. That. I mean, he knows that. He's, but somebody he just gets locked in on it. And just abandons it, and yeah, it's coaching,
Yeah, and what really frustrates me is because while I've only decided to do the writing thing recently, I mean, I guess it's been probably 3 years now, I've grown up with football as the sport. I mean, I've studied football since a kid. I mean, I've always loved the X's and O's. But there used to be a day where, in a time you could study this Saints team and say, because of this type of play and while we're struggling here, we need this type of player. But now, and I told Brian this at the beginning of the show, I mean, if you compare these two teams on paper and take away records and just look at talent versus talent, we're not severely, dropped from 2009. I mean, the only main difference between those two teams is the offensive line caliber of the 2009 team was one of the best O-lines in a decade. I mean, there was 5 Pro Bowlers, 2 All-Pros. They were legit. But other than that, I mean, there's not a huge difference, yet the record and the scoring and the ability has changed a lot.
Yeah, it's complimentary football. They're not playing it. When a defense shows up, the offense sputters, so the special teams screw it up. In 2009, they were putting all 3 parts of the game together. It might not have been spectacular, but the defense did enough, and they created the turnovers, and the special teams are solid. They could run the football. It's just that now it's just, you don't see all 3 phases of the game come together. Every now and then it does. You might have seen a little bit against the Rams or something like that, but for the most part, no. You're not seeing that.
Well, I'll also say this. I mean, special teams has derailed us a lot. I mean, this is one of the worst years I've seen for our special teams.
Oh, no doubt about it. Yeah,
I mean, it's hard to play in all 3 facets when the special teams is doing that poorly. And it's not just the low trajectory kicks out of Will Lutz. I mean, it's the coverages on kick and punt returns. It's the returns themselves. I mean, everything is just really, really bad right now, special teams.
I mean, and Brian will be able to tell you this. He's been in a bunch of camps. When you go to those camps, most of the practices are special teams. They really are. They'll sit there. They'll do their team drills and their individual drills. But next thing you know, they're back at special teams. They practice a lot at it, but it's just results aren't there.
For me, and you might agree. I haven't got to have you on the show at some time, but if there's one position coach I just feel has got to go for the very reason that you've said, because it's been like that for years. I mean, it's not like we just now this training camp devoted so much time to special teams. They've been doing that a while, and we have not seen an improvement. It's time for him to go.
Oh yeah, I was calling for it 3 years ago.
I remember when we used to have you on, you were doing it then, but hey, maybe you would have changed.
No. I mean, if the special teams would have changed, then yeah, but they haven't. But it's just like they just tune them out. I mean, the players. I don't know. I mean, it's just year after year, game after game, you don't see anything spectacular. I don't know. It's the same old with the special teams. And it's this year.